Good morning. Happy Friday. Hello, Warren. I see you in the chat. Hello, Jeffrey. Hello, Kevin. It's Friday. We're back with another UmbraCoffee. I'm really excited to have you both. How are you doing?
Well, doing really well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes. Well.
Very good. As I said on Twitter when promoting this, it's fantastic to have two Umbraco heavyweights here, people that have been around in the community a long time, people doing awesome things in the community. And we're going to talk about some of those awesome things. I know, Jeffrey, you've been busy. Kevin, you've been very busy too. It's a special day tomorrow, isn't it, Jeffrey?
Yes, it is. It was exactly 364 days after we launched the uMarketingSuite. That was May 1st last year. And this is our first anniversary. So I thought it was good to join umbraCoffee as well.
Yeah.
To celebrate that in
Fantastic.
a long-term distance party.
Yeah. Yeah, well, congratulations. It's been a year. I was just saying before we went live that it's really amazing how in the past 12, 18 months, the community has finally really started to embrace commercial offerings around Umbraco, from the community, I mean. So Kevin, of course, you've been doing uSync things for a very long time, but your uSync complete offering has really taken off this year.
Yes.
We've got Vendor, we've got uMarketingSuite, and they're all incredibly high quality, really well polished products. They're not just someone slapping $100 price tag on an existing package. These are really, really good examples of what the community can do. So it's great to see that, you know, things are going well. Kevin, we're going to talk about uSync in a bit because you dropped something this week that was quite exciting. But Jeffrey, maybe we can talk about uMarketingSuite first, because you said you've been working on some cool new profiles feature. And I have to say, I'm not a marketer and I don't know too much about MarTech tools, but every time I've seen anything from the uMarketingSuite, I'd be like, wow, that's really cool. That's impressive. So maybe you want to show something. Maybe you have something you'd like to demonstrate.
Yeah, for sure. I can't see you any longer, but as long as you see my screen.
We can see your screen.
Okay, perfect. Well, the uMarketingSuite is, of course, a feature extension to your Umbraco website. We've added the marketing section, and we already had analytics, A/B testing, personalization, but with the 1.9 release, and I think it's released today. I'm running a release candidate 1 version. I think it's out there today. We've added in the profile section. And the cool stuff about profiles is that everything we collect about visitors on the website, we can show that over here. For example, here am I, and we can see the goals that I triggered before. I didn't do too many in this profile, but see which pages did this person visit, how many sessions did he have. In this case, I went to the home page, then to the partner page, and to the roadmap. I can see how deep I scrolled, where did I click, when did I start my visit, when did I leave it, etc. So that's really cool data. Also, when I'm participating in an A/B test, for example, and I know which variant was shown to me. So that is really cool insights that you have on people that are on your website. And of course, we made it all GDPR compliant, and we're now in the process of getting privacy verified. It's an official stamp that you can get on your tooling that it's GDPR compliant. So that's really cool.
That's awesome. I mean, whenever I've seen this, I think someone always asks the question, you know, where's this data? Who's responsible for it? If you look at something like Google Analytics, you're farming all that data off to a cloud somewhere, and it's crunching the stats and everything. But here, this is being done entirely locally within uMarketingSuite. It's in the package locally on your system.
Yeah, but in your own database. So it's not on a cloud server of the uMarketingSuite. No, it's really in your own database where you already are storing your forms data or your member data, etc. So wherever your server is, it's stored over there. And you're really the owner of the data, and you're the only one that has access to this data. So the uMarketingSuite cannot or we as a team cannot have access to your data or anything like that. And it's giving really nice insights for people who want to understand what people are doing on their website. And instead of giving that indeed to Google or to Visual Website Optimizer or any of the other tools, now it's your data and you can do whatever you want with it. And from a developer perspective, it's really cool that you have access to the data. So if you have some insane report that you want to build, go ahead, you have access to the data, build it.
Yeah, that's really, really awesome. And I'm going to say, I'm not a marketing person, but this UI is not unfriendly. It feels very Umbraco. It feels very intuitive. It's something that I could explore and work, find my profile, find out the interactions that user has made. This looks really, really cool. And of course, you've got a team working on this, right? It's not just you're not actively working on it yourself.
I'm going to Inception because perfect. We're working with a whole team on it. And I just before the broadcast started, I looked into our system, and we spent already more than 8,000 hours on the uMarketingSuite with the whole team.
Wow.
So
and that's from day one up until today.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's a serious investment from you, but hopefully it's paying off. I mean, looking at your site, you've got a whole bunch of partners, people that are actively using the system. Yeah,
we're really happy with the increase in partners the last couple of months, I guess. We're now with 12 partners in more than 7 countries at this moment. So that's really cool that it's gaining some traction. And we really see some nice case studies popping up as well. Also that we're doing on Perplex, but also Lars-Erik Abach, for example, of Markets Partner, is doing some really cool stuff with the uMarketingSuite. And it's really cool to gain some traction because, of course, the first release is always a first release, but now we really have a stable version that people can use, but also extend and make even cooler things.
Very, very nice. And of course, we've discussed a few times when you've been on umbraCoffee before and at the Dutch festival about this fantastic, powerful system. Do I have to do a lot as a developer to get it working? But it seems not. It seems it just kind of works and happens in the background.
Yeah, I think it's the best of both worlds because it's a no-code solution. Install. We're now working even on a one-click install from the back office. Don't know if that's needed, but that can be done without a developer interfering. But we also make it totally extensible, like you're used to with Umbraco. So if you're a developer and have a crazy idea or want to integrate it with your CRM or with any other tool, that's possible as well. And then you can make even cooler implementations. So both worlds we support.
That's really fantastic. And we're going to talk about what's next for uMarketingSuite in a bit because there's obviously going to be some changes coming for developers and for you as well as building it. But maybe let's just jump to Kevin as well, because Kevin, uSync, of course, it's been a loved tool for many years. It's hands down the most popular Umbraco package. I mean, I think I said before, if you just compare the Umbraco install stats and the on NuGet and you compare uSync, it's like 1 in 4 Umbraco sites has uSync.
Yeah, we sneaked past 1 million downloads there about 2 or 3 months ago. Actually, it was quite.
Yeah, cool. I noticed. I think it was something that we'd had on our umbraCoffee list of things. We mentioned, uSync's kind of creeping up there, and we checked when it was like 990 million, and then I checked again, and it was like 110 million. So it's definitely taking off. And of course, you've got the commercial bit. So uSync Complete, which is just incredibly powerful, incredibly nicely polished product again, and other things like Translation Manager that you work on too. But compared to Jeffrey, it's just you. It's just you that works on this.
It's just me, yeah. Just a one thing, but that's pretty much all we do now. So we don't really have clients anymore. We've moved the commercialized bit. So Translation Manager and uSync cover our costs, which means we can focus on them.
I guess that's your dream, right? You made uSync because it's something you wanted to do, but you're now able to do that as your full-time
Yeah, it's living the dream. No more clients. It's great.
Yeah.
So we set our own roadmap and we work out what we want to do. It's great.
That's really, really cool. And of course, this week you released let me just pull the link up. You released uSync 9 beta. And this was literally an hour after Umbraco announced the beta for Umbraco 9. You had a beta there. Of course, they've had the previews and the alphas and stuff in the background, but it seems you've been working on this for a little while. Yeah,
I've been working on it sort of since the alphas, and there's nightly builds, so I've been sort of keeping up with the nightly builds and converting uSync. I mean, I always thought, I didn't necessarily think uSync could be the first one we did, but I just started and moved stuff across. And to be honest, about a week or two before the beta, so like a week, it didn't look like it was going to do it, but it sort of fell into place. And it's not. I think Warren sort of said it a few times. It's not as big a job as you think it might be when you start out the .NET Core stuff. You go through it, and then it's quite chore. But when you go through, it's mainly conversions of things. So it sort of fell into the right place to come out at the same time. And I thought it was good because we didn't do the mistake we did when we went from 7 to 8, is that the files all stayed the same. So you can migrate 8, all your settings from version 8 into version 9 using uSync. So I thought it'd be quite cool if you wanted to see what your site would look like in a .NET Core version. You could just migrate it all.
Yeah, so back office wise, you've not really had to change much in the UI. No. You just had to change, I guess, the internal engine of where stuff gets registered, where stuff gets pulled out of Umbraco or put into Umbraco.
Yeah, so we've done a little bit of tidying up, because in 8 there's all sorts of it grows. uSync sort of grows with Umbraco. So when a new thing gets added to Umbraco, we have to make sure it works for uSync, but also that it's backwards compatible. So there's reflection in there for new properties. Sure. And then there's little bugs that we get around. So like there's stuff in there that says if it's earlier than Umbraco 8.4, do it this way. After 8.4, do it that way. So we tidied all that up. So in 9, it's just all like sort of cleaner. But it wasn't much more than a nice clean. We move all of the little buggy workarounds, but try and keep it pretty much identical to how 8 works, just on .NET Core.
Very, very nice. And you've merged the content edition into main uSync, haven't you?
Yeah, I think we should have done that last time, but most people use both. And the reality is you just turn the content on or off if you don't want it. And then there's not the confusing thing of thinking you need 2 packages to sync your site. You've got one, it does it all, but you just turn the content bit on or off as you need it. Indeed. So it makes it simpler. And we're constantly, when we release one, we always end up having to release the other one as well. So it really makes sense to have 2. So.
Very nice. So that's fantastic to see you out of the gate so quickly with that. Because I guess when V8 launched, there was this period where people didn't really want to start working with Umbraco 8 because they weren't sure if it was stable. There was a few issues. There was a time where a lot of packages didn't work. And I think the turning point was when we had 8.1, uSync, and doctype grid editor. Suddenly, people felt like they could use Umbraco 8. And that's going to be a pretty critical thing for V9 too. When people are looking at moving, they're going to need those core packages that they're used to using there. And I mean, kudos to you for doing this so quickly. Especially for a product in uSync's case that's not actually something commercial. It's you offer that away for free.
Well, yeah, but I need it for the commercial bit, so it needs to be done.
Of course you do. Of course you do. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, that's exciting. I think in a second we'll talk a bit about what V9 means for us as developers. You both as offering commercial solutions, but Jeffrey as well from offering client solutions. And me maybe as a developer, we can just have a little chat about that. Of course, the reason we're discussing all of this is because this week Umbraco did finally announce the Umbraco 9 beta release. So this is a massive milestone, I think. We've got Umbraco, a feature-complete CMS running on .NET 5, or the artist formerly known as .NET Core. And it's kind of got everything. So this blog post by Bjarke and the corresponding YouTube live stream that went with it is a kind of a summary of everything that's happened, everything that's changed, and there's some links to some documentation of how to get started. everyone that I've seen on Twitter saying, "Oh, I followed the documentation. It was really easy to get up and running." Whilst we see these .NET commands and go, "Ugh, that's maybe slightly different to the way we've worked before." Everyone's saying it was pretty easy to follow and get set up and running, which is great. Of course, this is not the final release. This is something for people to test, start developing packages against, and get excited about it. And the excitement has definitely started. I've seen that Lee and Kevin, you've been actively involved in these discussions too. Yeah. Lee has been chronicling his journey of getting contentment to work for Umbraco 9, which is again another big project. There's a lot of code in there. I see you've been giving your insight, which looks fantastic. Of course, Warren has been active in doing more of his Hack, Make, Do series. Really, really great high quality videos here. And he's talking about configuration this week in one of these videos. Also, maybe an unlikely, something I wasn't really expecting, but Elmer.io even tweeted this week saying, "Hey, look, we've got some instructions, documentation for how to get Umbraco logging working with Elmer.io on Umbraco 9, which is really sweet." And next week, on May the 5th, Wednesday evening, I think Emma and Carol and a few others maybe are running this Umbraco V9 Learnathon for 4 weeks, where you can join a session and they're going to hack away and look at building a website. I think the following week is an API and maybe some other things, but that's really, really exciting. Of course, off the back of all of that, there'll be some documentation needs, which Sophie has shared an issue for. They need some help documenting stuff. So if you find things, please document and help them out. And then this is what I wanted to come on to. What happens now? So we've got a beta. Where do we go from here? Of course, package devs need to start working with it and testing it, but the launch is still 3 or 4 months away in August. So what happens between now and then what happens to V8, especially for products that both of you are supporting, client sites that we're supporting on Umbraco 8? What do we do about those? I don't know. I'll just chuck that one out there, and maybe you can chip in with some thoughts.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not 100% sure at the moment. So I know I've spoken to a few people. I've spoken to Jeffrey, I've spoken to Matt about vendor as well. I'm in a bit of a fortunate situation in that the products I've got are a little bit old, so they're a bit more developed. We're not putting new features and things like Translation Manager is fairly stable. So going from 8 to 9 is like it's moving the product, but not necessarily actively developing all brand new features at the same time, which I know with MarketingSuite, you've got new things coming out, and with vendor, there's new stuff. So the discussions I've had is how you manage a V8 and V9 project at the same time and keep both up to date and not just end up with code all over the place. And the answers at the moment are, I don't really know. There's many different ways and sort of trying it to work out how we continue to support 8, but develop a lovely V9 version of something.
And when you say support, that's the key word there. Are you meaning maintain the 8 version or continue adding to it? Like well, in the case of uSync, you said that uSync is pretty much tied to what CMS features are available. Yeah. Maybe some UI cleanup occasionally, or some configuration changes, but feature-wise, it's pretty set. uSync Complete, on the other hand, you're constantly introducing new things there.
Yeah. So, well, uSync is probably the reason I did it first is because it's so closely tied to Umbraco. It's a branch, but it's not in sync with 8 and 9. So it's almost like it's 2 code bases with them because they're so close to Umbraco. It seemed like it was the easiest one to do. But yeah, on top of that, with Translation Manager and uSync Complete, it's how we do it that we can add features to both sides of it. We're not having to duplicate a lot of code and how we maintain that. But the principle is, how do you support 8, at least, apply patches, whatever you need to do to it.
What do you think, Jeffrey? What's your plan? Obviously, uMarketingSuite is a big product. There's a lot of moving parts in that.
Yeah, it's a big product. And as Kevin already mentioned, we're adding features. Each 4 weeks, we have a sprint release with new features added in. So that's probably a bit different, and we have to choose at one moment, okay, we stop adding features to V8 and start adding them only to V9. But people have now invested in the uMarketingSuite or setting it up in V8, etc. And V9 is not ready yet. And even when it's ready, people will start building their websites on it. It's not that they're releasing it on the first day. So the discussion we all also internally have is when, if we invest in features for V8 now, maybe we sell more licenses. With more licenses, we can do more development work. If we start investing in V9 now, that's future-wise maybe the better decision. But nobody's going to buy a license for V9 at this moment. So that's the discussion that we're having, and that's why I stated during US Fest, for example, that as soon as 9.0 is released as a stable version, so August or September, we will start putting our resources fully on V9, and then hopefully within 6 weeks or something like that, we have a new release. And I said during US Fest 9.2 was the version that we were aiming at. But of course, we're not depending on the versioning of Umbraco. As soon as 9.0 is released, we're going to build a version that would work on 9.0. And probably that will take us 2 sprints, 2 times 4 weeks. So then 2 months after release, you have it.
Interesting. So that's a very interesting and differing opinion to what Kevin's been sharing here, which is that, you've already got uSync done. You're clearly actively working on some of the other commercial things. Of course, different priorities, very different products, and that's all taken into account. But Jeffrey, you're saying you will not start developing against it until you've got a stable release.
That is what I stated during US Fest, indeed. But then Umbraco HQ, and they are doing an excellent job, by the way, on reaching out to us. Can we help in some way, or can we facilitate anything for you? Not writing code, but the stuff around it. So we're now changing our minds a bit. We'll be investing 2 days in the next 2 weeks to see, okay, can we port this? Are there anything that we run into? Because they also stating, if we change something that breaks your uMarketingSuite, we can fix that now. We cannot fix that in 9.0 because then you have to wait before 10 or something like that. So that's a good point that they're making as well.
Nice. Okay, so it's still a softly type approach. You're not going all in just yet, but definitely something that you're keeping on the radar.
Yeah, especially because HQ is really supporting us in reaching out to us, so we need to invest time in it as well, and take it also from there. Which features do we want to include in the V8 version? We've been talking about marketing automation, for example, for a while now, but I think it's really hard to support the V8 and V9 and make it a quality package as well, because the testing bits are really hard at this moment for the uMarketingSuite.
I know a conversation that's been had with Matt and vendor is could the core of the product, could one core be created and then you have an integration layer where it's the V8 one or the V9 one. It's a lot harder than you'd think, especially with these products which are tightly tied to a lot of Umbraco. I guess in uMarketingSuite's cases where you're still dependent on a lot of the APIs Umbraco offers you, whilst you may have some, the core database stuff or the reporting, maybe not anything to do with Umbraco, but actually for it to function, you still rely heavily on it.
Yeah, for sure. And from a code perspective, maybe it's doable, but then from a testing perspective and regressive testing, etc., it's becoming harder and harder with each version that comes out.
Yeah. So, okay. From what I'm reading from this, then, I think you're both in agreement that it's going to be at some point impossible to maintain 2 versions in terms of adding features to it. So, where's the cutoff? And the reason I ask is because shared in the post that Philip released on Wednesday or Tuesday even, about what happens after Umbraco 9, they've said here, and I think this is quite a bold thing. After June 14th, they will no longer be accepting feature pull requests to Umbraco 8. That's, of course, well before the planned release of Umbraco 9 in Q3 sometime, August, September. they will no longer be accepting feature pull requests. And of course, they're going to be going through this exact same conversation that we're having right now of how do we maintain this thing? We don't want to be maintaining so many things for so long. Of course, V7 has kind of faded away. People are still using it, but we're not getting any releases for that. People naturally stopped making pull requests and features for it. But we did have a time where people wanted stuff in both CMSs. Oh, that fix that we've had in V8, can we get that in V7? Or this feature that I really want to do, but I actually want it in V7 and it won't get accepted. So what's the plan? Like, at what point do we say, no, enough's enough, we have to move on to V9 now?
Well, I mean, we still get the odd person buying translation manager licenses for V7 now. So, I mean, they come through. We're not adding loads of features, but obviously we're still supporting that even now. And I don't know how many years it is now. It's probably 3 or 4, isn't it, from V7? So the active website development on V8 is going to carry on for a few years, I would think. And people are probably not going to jump on 9.0. I mean, there's a lot of .NET Core advantages, so there will probably be quite a few people wanting to get advantages of moving to a new code base and being able to run it on Linux and, you know, potentially making their hosting cheaper. But there's still going to be a large V8 user base. I would say at least for a couple of years, people actively wanting to buy the products that we make or use the packages that we've developed alongside that. Yeah. I would say with the stuff that we probably will lock down adding features at some point around the release of 9, just because there isn't a huge amount of features that we've got on a wish list for the stuff that we write at the moment. So there isn't anything massive that we've got, or we'd really need to add it to either uSync, using Complete, or Translation Manager. So we might just go into a maintenance mode around about the release of 9, but we haven't quite worked that out. But I don't know what that means really, because I mean the other thing that's in there is everyone knows that the new UI is version 10 or whatever it is, and so this is sort of like a big 2 or 3 months worth of work to convert from V8 to V9, followed by a short break, followed by probably more work to convert to V10. So you don't want to have V8, V9, and V10 as a thing you've got to support.
Yeah, I mean, I do think the UI is further off, at least from general release. But as you said, Kevin, your kind of release cadence is kind of more or less in line with what Umbraco do. So you still got to keep up with that, even if it's not that it's publicly released right now. You still need to be on top of those. It's
almost certainly going to be a bigger piece of work as well, because the conversion from a .NET Framework to .NET Core in the code it's got some work to it, but it's not a complete rewrite. So it's functionally identical uSync 8 and uSync 9, whereas the entire UI is going to need to be redone. So, and that's a big chunk of the work.
Yeah. Jeffrey, how do you feel that as well on the UI thing's a good point, because you have done some incredible work with the UI, but you're going a step beyond what Umbraco offers there. You've rolled your own system in the back office there.
Yeah, and try to stay as close to Umbraco as possible, but also adding in some new sweet things. But for the end user, it should feel like a natural Umbraco environment, or like Umbraco would have developed it. But I think the back office update will have much more impact on us than this one, and even this one will have a lot of impact on us, I guess. So not really looking forward to it, but I think it's good that things are happening. Because on the other side, as a company or as a digital agency, we're complaining that from security reports we get feedback on the old Angular support, etc., and we shouldn't use Umbraco anymore. So I see the trouble over there. Just not looking forward to it, but we don't have any choice, I guess. Yeah. And I think that the train that Umbraco HQ is on is the best. Just go for it. Make some bold statements like after June 14th, we're not going to do anything with the old PRs. That's good for me, for us.
To be clear on that, they're not saying we're going to just ignore everything after that point. It's anything that's already in there, of course. So just get them in before the 14th. and then they'll consider them, and there'll be a period of time where if it makes sense that existing open PRs should be merged into 8, then they will. But there definitely does need to be a line in the sand. It's interesting that they're drawing it there and then, but like we said, I guess they need to. I was going to mention as well that, of course, the audiences of both the products we're talking about, uMarketingSuite and uSync, very different, in that uSync will be chosen and selected by a developer, and that's a developer's tool. The uMarketingSuite may be sold in by an agency or a developer, but a marketing team's ultimately the owner of that. They want that functionality. Now, do the marketing teams care so much about being on .NET Core? Probably not. The developers, they want this shiny new tech. So is there less pressure potentially for uMarketingSuite to be ready? I'd say so.
Yeah, that is a good observation, I guess.
I think also the uSync stuff, I mean, one of the reasons that I'm trying to keep it so close is because developing the site from day one, you need the tools in there to sort of build it up, and going into source control from day one and deployment, you're going to need all of that. So it sort of needs to be up front. Whereas something like Translation Manager will be a bit further along, because what we tend to see with that is that it's nearer the end of the project. When you've built the website and you've got it, you need to then multilingual. Do that side of it, so that the pressure even on the two tools that we've got is different. So uSync is sort of like as quick as possible, and Translation Manager, I think we've got a little bit more wiggle room on.
Once the CMS itself becomes more stable, once developers start recommending it to their clients, at that point it becomes a need to have those client-facing products actually work well on the platform. But before that, it's slightly less important.
Yeah. I think you need the tools to build the site first, and then some of the stuff that, adds the value sort of comes on a bit afterwards.
We had a great question from Aaron in the chat, which of course we're not going to hold you to any answers here, but maybe just talking broadly about intention here.
What we've done when we went from 7 to 8 with Translation Manager is we did offer it. That's usually when we use that as an excuse to raise the price, but I mean, it's more that we don't raise the price normally. So if the price has been the same for 3 or 4 years, we'll add a little bit on then, but we'll have an upgrade cost. That's what we've got from 7 to 8. So if you buy a Translation Manager 7 license and then you upgrade your site, there's a smaller cost to turn a 7 license into an 8. And usually we would do, if you buy an 8, you can use it on 7 if for some reason you need to go back. So we'll probably have new licenses upgrade cost, but only a slight increase in price, if at all. To be honest, I haven't really thought about it that much, but we specifically say the licenses you buy are for the Umbraco, are tied to the Umbraco version. That's how we do our licensing. So.
And Jeffrey, your licensing model is very different to a lot of other packages. You offer monthly subscriptions and monthly payments for things.
Yep. And in that case, you can also transfer from V8 to V9, I guess, because the updates are included in that way because you pay a monthly license.
Nice. So that's interesting, because looking into the deeper future, when Umbraco is going to be, they're committing to a major, which I guess the idea is to take the focus off it a bit, but they're committing to a major every 6 months. And if that's going to involve some amount of changes from a package dev each time, how do you justify that cost and that time? Like in this case, if it's a big migration, you can charge a license fee to upgrade, but we're probably not going to be able to do that between those, aren't we?
No, I would think hopefully the majors, while there'll be major releases, won't necessarily be complete rewrites, almost like they are between 8 and 9. Once we're onto .NET Core, I mean, the UI is
the back office UI thing is going to be a big one.
Yeah, besides the UI, which is going to be big, but I mean, hopefully it becomes a bit more stable after that, and it can just be sort of one uSync that's backwards compatible, and it'll just be one license, and it works version 10 upwards, say,
until the next big breaking change decision.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, it's just how it's worked on the release cadence that Umbraco have got now. It's worked for us to go licenses of this to that to the other, but yeah, when it goes to 9, 10, we'll probably have to revisit how we do it.
Because of course, recently Vendor introduced their monthly recurring subscription as an option, and in that case, you don't need to worry about upgrades. It's just a kind of a monthly license. I was wondering, Jeffrey, how you found that model works for you, and in selling it into customers. Of course, some people like to just buy it outright. but then it's not so great for you in terms of constant maintenance of the product.
No, because the goal with the uMarketingSuite was to create a sustainable package that we can support in the long term as well. Because we also did our open source packages and we released quite a lot of packages. But once they're out there, it's really hard to support them towards the future. And especially now with .NET Core coming and then the backoffice UI. So we needed to create a sustainable model that people can trust on our packages, but that we are also in it for the long term. And because we have a whole team dedicated working on it, it needs to be some kind of license model to make this sustainable.
So you think you need to sell volume of one-time licenses and continual volume, or you need to sell continual recurring revenue, maybe at a lower rate, but some,
Yeah, but we also want people to have the option to, if they want to stop using the uMarketingSuite, just stop it and go for another system or anything like that. So you're more flexible with this model, I guess, than when you're paying a one-time fee.
Interesting.
And then we can also make sure that we can update for every major version and minor versions as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be a topic that I think is going to be widely discussed in the coming year or two as we start to see this new release cycle, and with Umbraco's products as well, like what happens to forms, etc. What happens to those licenses? I'm interested. I think it's something we need to keep an eye on.
And a totally different topic on that is, of course, the open source packages. I was in a meeting this week with Kevin, but I think that's going to be insanely hard to support version 9, version 10, etc. with releases every half year, because then you're not earning any money with it. Then you have to do it in your free time, and when it gets a more complex package, it's almost undoable, I guess. Yeah,
I mean, I know that Philip reached out to a few people, including myself, just asking, how can we help support you? And it's something I'm looking at and considering as well. We've got packages that we use, versions of which we use internally, and so can kind of justify that. But most of these things are stuff that I've hacked around and have just built. There's probably in the realm of 20 packages there that I would like to have updated and migrated to V9. They're not huge code bases, but let's say it's a day for each one. That's 20 days of time. And if you think about the billing impact of that, that's a lot. And if we've got to do that every 6 months, that's a considerable chunk. Of course, Umbraco are going to do a lot to smooth that over. And I'm sure as well the package team, which you're involved in, Kevin, will be actively involved in that too. But it's going to be an interesting time.
Yeah, there's a bit of pain, I think, because of how .NET Core and the UI are two separate releases. So, I mean, and I totally understand why that's being done and not as one big bang, but essentially that does mean that the work is sort of split into two. So I think this is going to be the hard bit. Hopefully after 10, it'll settle down a bit, and that won't necessarily be that you need to rewrite a package every version of Umbraco.
Yeah.
But I think it is unfortunately going to be a double hit really with 9 and 10. Sort of two things. Cool.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be an interesting time, I think. There's definitely a lot coming up. Maybe just quickly we can chat about some other news. So Runa released a product update this week. We've covered most of it in that you've got .NET Core. Unicore project is really ticking along. Of course, we had A13 last week. This week we had Umbraco Deploy and Umbraco Forms updates. There is a status update on the Umbraco Cloud infrastructure migration, which is just ticking along fine, but really nicely, some technical content here from Morten about exactly what's going on in the background behind all this, and it's pretty fascinating. So go give that a read. The link will be down below. There was one other thing in here that I forgot to mention. On the roadmap this week, they're little improvements, but Umbraco Cloud users will be familiar when you hit buy or the pay button in Cloud, you get taken to like shop.umbraco.com, and it's the creaking old checkout that's been used for training and everything over the years. They've now got a new subscription management system, and all the payments can happen directly in the portal, which is lovely. And block editor support coming up for GraphQL Heartcore and GraphQL, which is for me really interesting because I know, and Jeffrey, you were in the discussions too, when we were thinking up what a block editor could be at one of the retreats a few years back. one of the things was very much content should be, surfaceable via an API nicely. So it'll be interesting to see how they actually implement that one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Should we talk about Code Garden for a bit? Because that's coming around again. It's that time of year. Speakers have been announced as a really nice list of speakers, and I know Jeffrey, some of your team are on the list too, which is awesome to see. I'm on the list. I'll be talking about search. I guess you'll be doing a similar talk to your US Fest session.
Who? Me?
Yes.
No.
Your team.
They didn't invite me.
I mean your team.
Oh, my team. No. Oh, yeah. It will be the talk of Leon that he also did at US Fest, but the improved version.
Lovely.
Yes, exactly this.
Lovely. It's something that I know you've been quite passionate about before, that, Umbraco can be one of these CMSs that does appeal to enterprise. We're getting there, especially with the addition of some of the commercial offerings recently. But it's not just for the perception of it's maybe being that it's for hackers and people that want a free, cheap option, but it doesn't have to be that.
No, not any longer, especially in the last 5 years with packages like uSync, Vendor, uMarketingSuite, but also with the quality of every agency involved with Umbraco.
Yeah,
we really use it as an enterprise platform for all of our customers, big international content platforms. It's really stable and really good.
Yeah, there are some really big people using it now. Some of the licenses we've got seen for uSync and Translation Manager, they're really massive multinational companies using Umbraco to run everything.
Fantastic. Of course, we're all three of us, fortunately, MVPs. There is an Umbraco MVP nomination still open. Go and nominate people that you think are making a difference in the community, whether they are people that we don't know about yet or they're people who are already MVPs. You can nominate for renewal, but active work on packages and these kind of solutions, that's a fantastic example of some community activity that people should be recognized for. So go nominate your people. And along that, we've talked a bit about the back office. I wanted to flag that there's a what's it called? The community office hours coming up for the Umbraco back office team, the HQ's back office team. And it's going to be moderated by Matt Brailsford. And it's your opportunity to ask all kinds of these questions about, what does vNext of the back office look like? Are we getting Vue.js? Does that actually matter? These are, all these conversations that we discussed. What happens for package devs? What happens for big systems like the uMarketingSuite, where you've got a whole UI? Like, is this something that's going to be affected? I think it's on May the 12th. So drop your questions again, link below for submitting those things. Actually, whilst we're talking about that, why not? Philip yesterday, we're still very locked down in the UK in not being able to do stuff like this. And I guess, is that the case in the Netherlands too, Jeffrey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can do this.
Yeah, so 10 people in a room in Denmark is allowed. And so if we zoom in, I'm going to see if I know that that's Ken. I know that that's Soren. I'm struggling to see. I think this might be Adam from Novacell. There's a few faces in there from the community having a chat yesterday about what the new Umbraco back office APIs could be like, which is exciting. So, progress things are happening. I saw that Kim earlier this week on a call we were on for MVP said for the first time ever, there's actually, 3 or 4 people working on UI in the back office when previously there was maybe 1 or none working on it. So it's good to see it getting a load of investment from HQ.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, some quick final things. So Sophie is going on maternity leave. I didn't know this. Congratulations, Sophie. So the documentation team needs a new steward, and Busra, who's on my team, has stepped up to the plate just for a short while to take over as the documentation team steward. And this is going to be a big time because, of course, with Umbraco V9 coming, it's going to be a load of documentation that needs to be done for that as well. So that's exciting. A new hire at Umbraco, Sigrun. She's the new web developer in the Coma team. She's from Iceland. You can go and learn all about her here. And finally, Jason Prothero was featured as featured on the community corner this week. I've known Jason for a long while, but maybe people don't. He's based in Oregon in the US. We don't get to hear from our friends across the pond all that much, so perhaps go give that a read.
Yep.
Cool. Well, yeah, that's all the news that I've gathered and covered. Of course, it was great to talk to you about .NET Core and what our thoughts are on Umbraco V9 and beyond. What are you up to at the moment? Are you working on anything exciting new, or burrowing down to work on V9 stuff? It's a public holiday in the UK on Monday. It's in Denmark today, so we get a long weekend here. I don't know if anyone's going to use that for any hacking or anything.
No, I've been learning how to run Linux on Windows 10 today, so I can actually get Umbraco running on Linux. Just sort of carrying on with the V9 stuff. So I had one person come back and say it doesn't really work on a Mac. So
I saw that, and that's because I think this is going to sting a whole bunch of package developers file paths. Well,
it
will not work on a Unix.
So it's case sensitive, which actually I thought I mainly dealt with, which I had, but what stung me was working out what the relative path was. So Unix path started with a slash, and it was like taking it off, and then it was just messing it up. So but learning a whole new operating system, because that's what everyone's going to be running. So
and it was something that affected the Umbraco alphas before as well, where even in core they had a bunch of stuff that was looking for stuff in with wrong casing. So
I mean, the casing stuff seems to be you've just got to make sure you've definitely kept the case everywhere, and then there's making sure wherever you've manipulated paths that you're actually using the libraries to do it, and you know what a relative path looks like in both systems. So
nice, cool. What are you up to, Jeffrey?
We're doing some really cool projects at this moment. But we're also getting ready for our submission to the Umbraco Awards. That's also, the deadline is, I guess, in 2 weeks. And also always quite some work to come up with a good case and a good video. So we're working on that.
What's involved in that submission, just out of interest? So you choose a project that you want to showcase, and then you have to produce a video or something to go with it?
A video of maximum 2 minutes. And that's always the hard part, because you want to talk 30 minutes about it, but narrow it down to 2 minutes. Quote of the client, I guess, but I think the video is the most important aspect, and it always takes a lot of time to come up with that. See, indeed.
May 7th. So you've got a week basically to submit. Get submitting, which is
we are a bit stressed out, but it's always fun to look back 1 year. 365 days, what cool things did we complete, and also as a team to discuss that and then hand it over to the. And
you've done a lot in 12 months, as we said, because it's your first birthday for uMarketingSuite. So yeah, that's true. And also we are working on the web shop of Umbraco. Ooh, yeah. Has this been? Are we allowed to talk about this? Because I know it's been whispered about, but this idea that maybe one day there'll be a shop.
Yeah, but I thought I couldn't come on umbraCoffee if I wouldn't show you anything. So no, we're not allowed to show anything, but we can show a sneak preview.
Oh,
if you're interested.
I'm not going to say no, but I don't want to get in trouble or get you in trouble either.
No, I won't be in trouble because it's umbraCoffee, and if anybody's responsible for the content of the video, it's you.
They can talk to our executive producer Marcin, who's not here today.
Exactly. He's handling now the legal stuff.
That's why he's not in the episodes. We're getting sued left, right, and center.
No, but we will be releasing it just before Code Garden, or maybe at Code Garden. Mm-hmm. So, or I show it now, or you can see it in a month, so I can show it right now, I guess.
Cool, and then I can have your screen back in, and we can have a little look.
Because this is Umbraco as you know it, and we're turning it into a web shop for Umbraco.
Oh, that's genius.
Because there's so much cool merchandise around Umbraco, and normally you went to Code Garden and you got a T-shirt, etc. But now we will be putting it online because everything is online. And this is just a sneak preview. We don't know if anything will end up on the live website. But this is the way that we're figuring it out.
Nice.
There's a lot of different products. Products that can be sold or products that won't be available. There's some fun in it. And we really wanted to get the community vibe within the Umbraco webshop. And you cannot show that in a picture, of course. But we will be working on that as well. And it's really a joint effort of Umbraco, vendor, and Perplex, or the uMarketingSuite, and showing people as well how easy it is to set up a web shop with vendor, uMarketingSuite, and Umbraco.
A great showcase for how powerful that can be as a combination.
For sure, and hopefully everybody that will be joining Code Garden will also select their new T-shirt over here, and will be using it. So this is just a small sneak preview, and the rest will be saved for the release moment.
Yeah, we'll let whoever's going to announce that keep some of the glory at least. But that looks really awesome. It's I know something that's been discussed many times over the years that it would be fantastic to have that. So exciting times ahead. Cool, and you're working on that with Matt currently.
Yep.
Exciting. We'll see soon. And of course, Arnold's saying in the chat we're going to love the swag that we'll see released at Code Garden. We got a little sneak peek on an MVP live stream earlier this week as well, so I can vouch for that. Cool, nice one. Well, I guess that's it for today. Thank you both for joining. This has been really good. It's always lovely to have you and always lovely to catch up. I guess we will see each other next week. We're off on a long weekend. I can't wait for that. So have a lovely weekend, everyone. Enjoy. We'll see you next Friday. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.